This is V for You Radio, once again bringing another episode of the talk show with the Today's Center. As we promised that we will be bringing them live again, I've got wonderful ladies, Linda Kelly and Dina Court, today with us, and we are going to talk about the upcoming breakfast. First of all, how are you doing, ladies?
Wonderful.
Great. Wonderful. How
Perfect.
are you?
And I am doing great. It's a beautiful afternoon here, a little bit chilly outside, but of course we are very warm inside. So we are blessed here. And folks, just to remind you, we came live on the 31st of October. We were trying to talk about the great activities which the Today Center is doing, and just briefly introducing Linda Kelly as their community engagement specialist, and she's the one who is the conduit between the Today Center business. The business community here in Edmonton, and of course, also is going to talk us more about the upcoming breakfast, and more so, she will talk about what some great things are being done at the Today Center. They are literally our neighbors. So, Linda,
Yeah.
welcome to the forum here.
Thank you. Thank you, Anu. And actually, you and I have a very similar role. We're connectors. And I think that's what's really important in organizations, not just corporate, but obviously nonprofit. My job is to get out there and explain to people who we are, what we do, why we do it, and who we do it for. And meeting people like you and Dina is just part of the perks. So the Today Center, which is actually short for the Today Family Violence Help Center, is an amazing organization that deals with about the 94% of individuals who are experiencing family violence that do not go to shelters. Only about 6% do. So there's this whole other group of organizations that can assist the other 94%, and that's who we are. One of the main things that I want to point out is the clientele that we support are adults, but they're any adult, any human over the age of 18. And I think that's really important to point out, because family violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, however you want to look at it, it affects human beings. And the numbers that any of us ever have about women who are victims, men who are victims, those are just reported cases. So the number is so high, we probably would never really understand how much higher. But we also hear when we have men coming in who are needing assistance because their environment is very unsafe for themselves and or their children. It's important to note that we're here for anybody, especially, there's a lot of individuals out there who are seen as, maybe not as important, or not they're overlooked in many ways. Well, we just deal with humans and we help humans. So I think that's just really important, number one. The work our family violence specialists do here is truly life-saving and life-changing for our clients. But we also have a whole area of public education. So I think that is very important to point out as well. We can't help our neighbors or our friends or our family or whoever it is we may or may not realize are struggling and dealing with abuse and violence in their personal lives if we don't really understand it. And I think for those of us who are lucky enough to have never experienced family violence or domestic violence personally, that's a blessing and that's a good thing. That doesn't mean we can't keep it on our radar, because it is so prevalent in this community. That's kind of what drives us to have an event such as what we're going to be talking about today, which is called the Help Today, Hope Tomorrow fundraising breakfast. We specifically hold it this year in November because in Alberta, November is Family Violence Prevention Month, and it's a very, very heavy month full of education and inspiration and activities for many of anyone to be part of, if you want to say that. But a lot of organizations like ours are putting on and making sure that we're out front and explaining that. this year, what we decided to focus on, because I think it's not focused on enough necessarily, is disrupting the stigma that surrounds family violence from both a victim and a survivor point of view, but also from like society's view back. And our whole thing was, how do we kind of bring it so that victims and survivors are feeling safer to speak about it? And how about the rest of us understanding a little bit more on how to talk with them or understand it from their perspective as well. So I'm really excited to be here, and I really thank, Anu and Vidana and just, Be4U Radio for giving us the platform to be able to start, I guess, sparking conversation around what disrupting the stigma actually means. And I think our keynote speaker for our breakfast, Dina, she could probably really speak well to that.
Yeah, absolutely, Linda. And as I know that, I mean, you guys are such passionate workers towards this beautiful, or the overall cause. When I visit your center, I feel so good because the victors who are impacted through some kind of episode or situations in their life, and they have no place to go, the awareness, the education, and also the empowerment they get from this organization is so immense and heartful. To be honest, I could not have stayed back, and I wanted to really come forward to really be with you guys in such a thing, because V4U Radio is all about the four pillars, which is one of them is the mental health, inclusion, diversity, women empowerment. So again, we got another beautiful person here, Dina Court here, who is the keynote speaker on this upcoming fundraising breakfast. Dina is absolutely an amazing, such a talented lady, who's a multi-talented podcaster, author, and she's done so many books, and basically she does a series called Hope in Hell. And of course, she has been an ambassador to all these survivors of the family violence, bringing on Dina Court on. So, Vandana, if you can bring Dina with me on, and as well me on the screen, that would be great. I don't know if Vandana is there to help. If not, just a second. I will try to bring. So I will continue the conversation here. In fact, I'll check it out if at all Vandana can bring Dina. I don't. She's.
In the meantime, we get to enjoy Linda's beautiful smile.
Yay, great. Yeah. I'd rather see Dina's beautiful smile. She's got a great one. It's very infectious and very, so genuine, Dina. You're amazing.
I love smiles. They're an international language that everyone understands.
I agree. And these days when you smile at someone, it's kind of, you see them kind of, but it feels so good for them. And it's becoming something that makes me want to do like all the time, because people aren't expecting it anymore. And I think that's bad. So.
Well, unfortunately, our smiles were covered up for a few years, and that connection was lost. And, you could smile with your eyes, you could still tell if someone was smiling, but it just doesn't quite connect in the same way.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, do you want me? I wouldn't mind just telling you a little bit more about our breakfast, since we're waiting. Here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It's going to be on November 23rd, which is a Thursday, bright and early in the morning. We're opening up the doors at 7 a.m. And the reason for that is because of a silent auction that we're holding. But I think that you got Dina, right, Anu? So I'm going to let you guys.
So back in the game here. In fact, there was a small little technical glitch. So Dina is with us. She is the keynote speaker on the upcoming fundraising breakfast. Dina is multi-talented, as I just said, podcaster. She's a good speaker. She is an author, and of course, she runs a podcasting series on Hope in Hell, I guess. Yes. So Dina is going to be the keynote. Dina, what do we expect, and how did you get connected to this great cause?
Well, thank you for the lovely introduction and for the invitation to take part today, Anu and Linda. I actually am a connector like the two of you as well. So I really welcome this opportunity. And how I got connected with Linda is a year ago, I became the owner and publisher of Divorce Magazine Canada. Now, that was created by the fabulous Dorothy Briggs. She is a phenomenal lady. She is the queen of connections, and she introduced me at the Today Center, and it was just an instant feeling of mutual understanding, and I'd have to say love. Like, I mean, it was friends to of the heart in the most beautiful way. And what I've found is when I talk about what I'm doing with the podcast and publishing around divorce, it is a natural opening to the conversations where people share the struggles that they've had with abuse as well. And what is really amazing is I come from a background where I experienced abuse for many years and kind of just wanted to leave it in the background. I was away from it. I felt free from it. But more and more, I was feeling the pull. I was feeling really compelled and obligated in some ways to share what I had learned from that and what I'd experienced to support others. And so that is what I've been doing, is to use these opportunities when those conversations start, when people share from those places of grief and fear and where they are in their healing journey. I can connect them, bring more awareness of the prevalence of it, the actual definitions of what abuse is, and then also connect them with the beautiful resources that are out there like the Today Center. So it's just been a beautiful connection that made a lot of sense.
Ladies, I've got a question here. I mean, just comes to my mind. What stigma are we talking about here? Because as we say, disrupting the stigma. I know there is, but what is the stigma?
I want to actually, and I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
But we looked into what the definition of stigma is, and I from Merriam-Webster. It's a set of negative and unfair beliefs that a society or group of people have about something. It's a mark of shame, discredit. It's a stain. Starting just from there, when you're correlating that towards people who have experienced family violence, and that could, don't forget, that could be personally, but it also affects their loved ones and people they work with. So it's not just a singular kind of silo here. We wanted to find a way to start talking about what stigma are we talking about. And honestly, I think between Dina and I, we could probably talk for about 4 hours and still not run out of examples. What we are kind of going to focus on, I guess, as a starting point for this event is a stigma that those of us who have had experience, not only do we internalize our own stigma, thank you society for doing it as well, but we're almost harder on ourselves because we've been trained to either, if we do say something, we're not believed or we're not validated. And that kind of also shuts people down, obviously. So there's also, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people who have never experienced it personally or through a loved one, but are very keen on trying to find ways to communicate and disrupt kind of society's views that we've all kind of learned and ingrained in our life. So that led us to looking up the definition of disrupt. And the definition of that is how and why preventing something, especially a system, process, or an event, from continuing as usual or as expected. So disrupting the stigma is kind of about taking something that we've all just kind of, and with good intention or whatever, but we've all just kind of accepted and saying, no, we're not going to accept it. We're going to shake it up a bit here. And we're we're going to talk about stuff that's uncomfortable. And I think that's part of the way to open the door for not only victims and survivors to start feeling safer in their environments to even admit that something happened, but it opens the door for every single one of us, and I'm including abusers in that as well, to be able to start really focusing on, this is happening. Like, it's one of those things, you look to your left, look to your right, one of you is dealing with it. So what we're trying to do here is just basically find that kind of invisible middle ground where we can all just kind of come together and figure out a way to have a better understanding, learn more through education, and find ways to prevent it from actually occurring. So talking to our youth and younger people, so that maybe in a generation or 2 or 3 that we might be able to flip the script and actually have it so that it is something that we can talk about, because it also has maybe been close to eradicated. So that's kind of where we're coming at. We're just a small, tiny little spike of a topic, but that we're targeting it towards just kind of making life a little bit easier for people who have suffered through it, and a little bit easier for anyone else who really don't know what to say or how to help in those situations.
Well said. In fact, what we all know that, I mean, we've lived with this domestic violence, family violence for thousands of years. I mean, this is nothing which has just happened today. It was always there. And but today we are blessed that at least we are talking about it.
Yeah.
And it all begins with a dialogue and awareness, because sometimes what we never thought is the domestic violence it actually was, and people are not aware for so many generations, and something which is kind of impacts not only just a small section of society but entire globe. I mean, you could be anywhere, any part of the world. These types of things are happening every day, every second as we are talking. So Dina, my things to you, because you are such a good podcaster, you speak on this so many times. What are some of the preconceptions about family violence, you think?
I think there's a gap in the understanding of what family violence encompasses. And what I'm really impressed with is the change in the legal definition, which adds a lot of power to our message. So legally now, domestic violence and intimate partner abuse and violence includes dating situations, it includes marriage, and it includes common law, it includes coercive control, it includes far more than just physical violence. And so what that is it brings a lot more power to our message when people just kind of raise an eyebrow and say, well, that's what you say violence is, that violence is only physical, but it's not. And I think the more we can get that awareness out, we will help people who are victims who don't even realize that what they are experiencing, like you said, Anu, for generations, we haven't even understood that some of this, the coercive control, some of the emotional, psychological, all these other types, financial, sexual, all these types of abuses are abuse. And people have often come from a background that have been experiencing that. They saw that as children. They've seen that generationally. They see that in their communities. And it's been accepted, and that does not make it right. And what I'm loving about the speaking up and the talking is how we will change the understanding of what it is, which will change the acceptance of what's happening. And it's going to raise the bar on the respect that people should be treated with. And you know, that goes across all genders. You know, some of the other stigmas that we have seen changes around disability, the LGBTQ plus population, around mental health, around single parenting, around divorce, menstruation even. You go back through the years and all of those carry different stigmas where it wasn't something that was spoken about. It wasn't something that was comfortable if it was brought up. And many just felt more likely to turn the other way, hope someone else intervened, someone else would do something about it. And I really feel like it is encouraging that we are speaking up about it. And I applaud the men who are out there who are setting good examples. We really need to involve them in helping to recognize that they are very positive role models. Like Linda said, talk to those teens, talk to the kids. We don't want to keep pulling people out of the river. Let's go upstream and let's figure out what we can do to change that culture around how people are treated. I think that's some of what's very important.
You're absolutely right. And I just want to say that one of the things that our education specialist has been working on in the last couple of months is actually it's an amazing thing. She's connecting with high schools and talking about healthy, unhealthy, and abusive relationships. And I think right there, just that kind of early understanding of, like what you said, Dina, to me, one of the saddest questions when clients come in or phone or family members are asking because they don't know what else to do with their loved one who is they obviously in trouble, is when someone says this and this is happening, is that abuse? And to me, it breaks my heart because, yeah, it is. It truly is. And it just, it's insidious and it affects so many parts of an individual's life. But like I said, even a work life or family members, or just the way everybody kind of perceives currently, not everybody, but for the most part, the way victims and survivors tend to feel if they do have the courage to speak up. And that's why I'm so thankful for women or people, men too, like Dina, who's putting it out there and is in a place in her life where she is able to do that. And, not everyone can. So for those who are able to do that, and it's taken a long time and a lot of work, I'm sure, to get there, I think by having these discussions and just kind of bringing it out a little bit brighter under the lights might give someone else who's listening and thinking, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's me.
I find that many of the people who are in those situations stay stuck there because they keep asking themselves, well, how could I have let it get this bad? Is it really abuse? There's so much shame, and they ask themselves these questions, and then they get brave enough to step out and ask someone, sometimes kind of tentatively, they're hinting around what they are experiencing, and they get hit with those same questions. Well, why don't you just leave? Why did you stay so long? Are you sure it's even abuse? And that's part of the stigma that we're trying to disrupt so that people understand really what abuse is. And it's not for you to decide. If someone reaches out for help, it's probably beyond what they're hinting is happening. It's probably much worse than what they even realize.
Yeah.
You know what, ladies, this makes me feel so blessed sometimes. I'm living in Canada for 19 years and coming from a country, India, of course, when I came across it was a big culture shock. And then knowing Canada from that perspective, I feel blessed because these are such great things which we do here. Just by talking about it, I think we are doing a favor to the world. That yes, there is an organization called the Today Center. You can go there. There are educationists there. There are lifesavers who are sitting there just to talk to you. And just by talking itself, we know how much you feel relieved. Just because when you hear out someone, and it's just sometimes they just have to talk it out loud to just throw out that weight from their body, kind of thing, right? And see, Linda, you have been living this world for so many years, in fact, every day, and meeting, greeting, talking to so many people. And I want to ask you one thing, that from this side of the table, do you see any kind of spikes? Does it have to do with economic crisis? You see this spike going up as soon as we hit the economic cycles, kind of hit those downturns, or when immigration is on the rise, the city is going through so much change. Do you see those spikes also? It's just constant? Or, and second, to just follow up to that question would be, is there any kind of a specifics you see more of abuse than the others? Like, would you see sexual abuse coming more, or physical abuse more, or verbal abuse more? What are you seeing from that side of the table?
Well, first of all, the answer is, for the first part of that question, is maybe it's just after COVID, for example. I think that changed a little bit of the way we are able to connect and talk about things. But I'll give you an example. Like during COVID, for example, child abuse numbers dropped drastically. But when you think about it, the reason for that is because children were not in school and there was no one reporting it. Animal abuse skyrocketed. And when you start to think about the dynamics of being at home, maybe with struggling to make ends meet, that, to me, I agree, it's one of the factors, but I think it, without being sounding kind of too frank, I feel like that's always going to be something that we're going to turn to as an excuse or a reason why things are happening. And like I said, definitely it doesn't help to have extra stresses in the home when it comes to finances and things like that. But ultimately, I think I personally grew up, we don't talk about things outside of the home. And I think that when families are struggling, when couples are in dire straits for whatever reason it might be, my thought, and I do have some personal experience, is if it's there, it's going to happen. It's kind of just going to happen, and things just elevate because of certain factors that maybe play into that. That's my personal opinion. But we've also seen the fact that obviously when there are financial stresses and there are things like loss of employment and things like that, when you only know what you know, you may just react in that way. That's why I think prevention and education are key, and honestly, getting more men involved, more men and boys involved. That's not putting the onus on them as abusers at all. But the reality is, if men don't get more involved, things will probably not change as fast as we'd like them to. And the many men I've spoken to, who so many want to help, but they're not sure what to do. And so that's where conversations like this, that may be uncomfortable, maybe are a little hard to hear, whatever, but I mean, at least it's a conversation, and together we can start figuring things out, because there's so many more people out there who want to do something and help and make those changes than there are, I think, the opposite. So, and in answer to your second one, physical actually is not the highest. It is not the worst, the highest number. It's more emotional, and financial abuse is extremely high as well. That's another, just like Dina mentioned, coercive control. That's just another form of control. Same with like animal abuse in the home. I mean, that is a form of control. When our family violence specialists are working with certain clients who either are ready to leave or want to plan on leaving, and they work with them on creating emergency kits. I mean, like, think about it. Do you know your wife's phone number? It's in our cell phones. We don't need to do that anymore. But if all of a sudden you don't have that, you know, to be able to start thinking about some of the things we need to prepare for, like you maybe not be able to use a credit card, so maybe stock away some dollar bills and things like that. And one of the other things I want to mention, when you're talking about things like people asking, well, why didn't you just leave? Or really, that person didn't seem that bad to me, or whatever. The hardest part, I think, for people to understand is everybody is different. Everybody has a unique situation. And for some, they'll even go through the holidays before accessing help because they want to have some kind of experience for their children. And I just think that with people like Dina getting out there and empowering victims, I really don't like that word, but people who have experienced that issue, and the courage and the platform to be able to speak about it, I think is, bar none, one of the most, important things that we can share out there, especially in this day and age. Look, we're connecting with India. Like, I mean, that's amazing. The more people who can kind of go, oh, then the more people that are going to start hopefully talking about it, whichever side of the spectrum that you land on.
Yeah,
Great.
this has no borders.
Mm-mm.
And that's, like Anu mentioned earlier, this is everywhere. It's global.
And also, I mean, first of all, yes, I really like the word victor. When I was reading
Yeah.
through the notes, and I came across this beautiful word instead of the word victim. Of course, is a little bit of a negative connotation. And again, I appreciate people like Dina, who certainly are doing such an immense work in the community by being the ambassadors, and you do a lot of things, Dina. But my question to you is, of course, to how the synergies between today's center and yourself is, this is one way to come forward, participate, join the breakfast, sponsor the breakfast. There are thousands of corporates in Edmonton who look forward to supporting one cause or the other, so that they also bring that compassion within the employees because they care for the clients in some way or the other. So of course, as I always appeal to the business community to come forward. No help, or no help is a small help. Help is a help at the end of the day. And of course, other than the breakfast, which is kind of sparking this communication, what are some of the ways to keep the conversation on throughout? Because this is the purpose of E4U Radio. This radio is meant for organizations like yours to give you that central place of connecting with the community, so that you're just not talking on one day or during 1 month, but throughout the year, because the family violence, domestic violence doesn't restrict to 1 day or 1 month. It is an ongoing thing. So my question to both of you is, how are other ways to really keep this conversation on other than just the breakfast? Linda, you can go first.
Me? Oh,
Sorry.
first of all, I want to say the word victor. I got that from Dina. And then we hugged after because
Yeah.
I don't like the word. That's just me. But when Dina said victor, I was like, that's it. That's the word, right? So I just want to say that. But I think that having an event like this it's a great way. And yes, we still need some financial assistance if that's in someone's radar. We are a purposeful organization, and we're also equal partners. So we're not just taking, we want to give back as well. I was just on the phone with the media today, probably getting sponsorship there. So there's still lots of time to partner with us. We don't like the word sponsorship either. That implies one of, and we're relationship building people here. I think personally, in answer to your question, it's individuals like Dina. Dina, I mean, you're brave. And I'm gonna get emotional, but you work through it, and you are, like I say, not everybody is able to speak on their experiences, but really need to hear that they're not alone, that some of the things that may have happened, they're not normal. And hearing someone else who's brave enough to speak about that is literally, like I started off at the beginning, it's life-saving and life-changing. And I think that the more people that we have, like Dina, who is embracing this issue and opening up the doorway for people to peek inside, I think is one of the most important tools that we can utilize right now at this time in this world, and the way we connect. So I thank you, Dina. Honestly, I know what you're doing with Hope in Hell, and building a book as well eventually to celebrate victors, and not throw anybody under the bus. This isn't about that. I mean, when we're talking about youth, we're talking about girls and boys, and any however anyone identifies. This is just about education and learning. It's not. I have a 23-year-old son, and I don't want any single group of individuals feeling like this is about them, and it's not. This isn't about shaming. This is just about opening up a conversation. And I feel like Dina, with you and what you have done and what you're already, I know a lot more of what you're doing, which wow, it's just such a good platform, and it's more than just a step forward. It's almost like a leap. So I appreciate that, and that's my answer. It's Dina. Well, I point because she's up there on my
on the screen. Thank you, Linda. That is amazing. I'm a connector, like I said earlier. And so what I can do is I can bring my story, but that's only my story. I'm more effective in a bigger way when I am connecting with people like you, with your organization, with those who have their stories, because we really want to get the message out, not only to those who are struggling, either still in a situation, don't realize why they're struggling, or they're trying to heal, or they're trying to get out, that they aren't alone. But also, like you said, we're not trying to marginalize or point fingers at any certain person. And I'm hoping that our stories also resonate with those who are the perpetrators, because they may have come from a situation where they feel like this is just how relationships happen. This is how you treat people, whether it's in an intimate relationship or a friendship or a work situation, whatever that might be. I want them to be able to hear these stories as well, because then they will understand, oh my gosh, I talk like that, or I treat someone like that. Something beautiful I heard recently too is, instead of saying, how could you do that to someone about whatever it might be, but this really applies to abuse, it's more like, what has happened to you? And when somebody is seen, when you see them and they feel like somebody cares to know what happened to me, why am I, spreading this anger and this venom and this drama and this cruelty to others, they can maybe more easily detach from that identity and that behavior. If we can help them feel seen, and we look at their heart and say, look, something, there's a wound there, or something has happened to you. It's not so much about, how could you do that? And learning to reach in. We're always telling people, be brave. The bravest thing you can do is reach out and ask for help. But it's on us to reach in. And, it can be very scary sometimes if you are concerned for someone and you don't know, how can I help them without risking my own or my family's safety? How about starting with asking that person, are you okay? Are you okay? It's okay if you need some help, let me know. And something I love that the Today Center, there's so many things I love about the Today Center and what you're doing. One of them is the concierge service, where people can walk in and they tell their story once. They are not then, oh, you need to meet with this person, this person, this person, and you're going to have to tell them, each person, your story over and over again. No, you tell it once, you walk in, we will facilitate all this care. And you have tools that I love. You have, but I'm serious about this, Post-it notes, pens. Those are things I keep on me, because those are something that is probably, hopefully, not going to jeopardize somebody's safety. So if somebody asks for a connection or some help, I can write a little note. I can say, hey, it was great to meet you today, whatever I want to write, but I hand them that Post-it with your contact on there. I hand them a pen, and that is not, hopefully won't jeopardize the person's safety in the same way as saying, oh, here, call the Today Center, here's their phone number. And then they are asked, what is this? And can cause some difficulties for them if they are still in that situation. So it's amazing what is available for us to help people. If you really stop and think about it, get creative. And I can talk more about the Hope and Hell too. There is a series I have on the podcast where I have Linda's been on. We talk about what organizations are there to support people, and also have people share their stories, because like I said earlier, my story resonates with some, but other stories will resonate with other people, so that they know that there is some hope in hell. And also, I'm collecting stories for an anthology, a compilation of stories, and there's no barrier to be included. It can be anonymous. I have a transcriptionist if people aren't comfortable writing and would just like to record that. I've got many ways that they can be connecting with the resources and the help and the support to get them out, or even to learn if what they're in is abuse.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting, the reception that I've had. I'm already starting to collect those stories, and it's so encouraging how many brave people there are that are out there willing to help others, because that's what made the difference for me.
I'm really glad you made those points, and you and I've talked about it before. If you want to look at what historically the numbers, and focus on some men who are struggling out there with being abusers, the inability to be even acknowledged or validated for their trauma, usually when they were young. There's a lot of wounded souls out there. I think that's what I'm trying to say. With you're a human being, and if you're on the other end of what we're discussing here, we want to see you too. Like, you need to be seen as well. You're not. This isn't about shaming anybody. This is about providing some safe spaces for all of us to become better humans and not hurt each other. Basically, that's kind of what it boils down to. But I think that what you said also, Dina, that just the fact that some of the things that we do here, like the safety planning I mentioned earlier, think about it. There are some people who have to reach out to us for a safety plan to stay, because staying is safer than leaving. So every situation is super, super different. But what we like to say about us is we're pretty much immediate. There's not a huge waiting list or anything like that. And like Dina says, we kind of meet you where you are in that moment and figure out, okay, together. We don't tell you what you need. Kind of figure out what's next. And that could be housing, that could be a safety plan, that could just be information, more education on what's happening. But whatever it is, the Today Center, it's one of the best organizations I personally have ever been with. I think because of the outlook on the non-judgmental aspect of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is just helping humans.
So very well said. In fact, there are some days, Linda and Dina, there are some days when you really are so emotional. And as you said, Linda, that you are feeling emotional, and so am I. In fact, that tells me that I'm still a human being, and it really moves me to see that how much pain is around, and sometimes that pain is self-created. You could do something differently in order to avoid that. I know it's full of emotions, and it's emotional fullness when you just happen to accidentally sometimes breach that fine line and then become an abuser too. And again, do I really like it, like being an abuser, or do people like to abuse like that? I don't think so. However, it is more of a situation thing. And today is one of those days where I feel that. I mean, I want to participate equally as much as a good listener. I want to talk as well. And I'm sure people who would be watching this afterwards, they will feel the same, because they also want a voice. And this is exactly what we are doing. We're giving that platform to people to raise a voice. And also by talking about it, I think this is the only way you can bring the numbers down. Can we abolish? Can we bring it to zero? I don't think so. However, even if we save a few lives, make few lives better, I think we are doing the jobs rightly. Linda, I just want to maybe ask you one more thing before we end. I know we can go on, and as the show progresses,
Well,
I feel the emotions kind of going up, and we feel more charged. We want to talk more, but at some point we'll have to wind up. But before we wind up, how are some of the ways people can get connected to the Today Center One? How are some of the ways people can come forward to help? I mean, breakfast is, of course, a platform, a day where all of us can come and pledge something small and big in our whatever capacity allows. However, question to you: how can people connect with you, and what are some ways to help?
Well, first of all, if you are in danger and you're in immediate danger, you need to call. Within our country, it's 911. So you need to do that right off the bat. For others, client side that are maybe experiencing family violence and need some help, you can call our phone number, and I think you guys are going to have that information for everybody. But go to our website, thetodaycenter.ca. On there, you'll find a chat will pop up, and you can also chat with us through that. And rest assured, when you hit, if you have to exit fast, there won't be a history shown on your browser. And for anyone else, even if you just want to support this event, or if you want to learn more and have a coffee, come down, have a coffee and chat, or you just want to find a way, maybe your company is looking for an alignment in a purposeful manner, and maybe we should talk. And that's why I say it's about partnership and it's about relationship. And maybe we can find something that works both ways for both of us, for both entities. But most importantly, honestly, if you're just unsure about something and you just need to figure something out and talk, call us, because we're here. And if we can help in any way, we will. We're linked with over 300 other agencies and organizations and services too. So we will get you where you need to go, at least give you the answers you need. We won't just say, we don't know, we don't do that. We do everything.
Such great things, in fact, and I personally love the breakfast more than anything else because it gives you a good start to the day. You fill up your tummy, and of course, your day also goes so productive with working.
Yeah.
Of course, so just reminding all the folks, this breakfast is coming up November 23rd, Delta Hotel in Edmonton from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Of course, early check-ins, and of course, if you've not bought your tickets, this is the time to buy. Linda, do you want to maybe tell everyone how people can buy tickets right now?
Well, I do, but I also want to say, Dina's presentation is going to be awesome. It's not going to be just talking to us. We're going to be part of it. So it's going to be excellent. And we're busting some stigma because we're having a comedian too.
Yes, so, I heard that. Yes.
Yes. So to buy tickets, you can go to our website, www.thetodaycenter.ca. You can do it that way, or you can give us a call at, I better make sure I get the right number, 780-455-6880, and talk to me. Talk to any one of us. They'll put them through to me or my partner in crime there, Shay, and or reach out to Dina. Dina knows all the details too. Buy a ticket, and if you can't come, or buy a table and write it off. If you can't come, buy some tickets, and we will make sure people who maybe couldn't make it will be able to make it with your gift. So yeah, there's many ways. Just look us up on the internet, if nothing else, and find us. We're there.
And of course, Edmontonians are full of fun. They really like participating, coming forward. It's a great event to really mingle as well. Find some good corporates. I know there would be at least 100 to 150 good corporates coming. Edmonton Public, yeah. Edmonton Police is also one of the attendees, and of course they do such a great job in attending these calls. Yes, absolutely. And of course, Dina will be there to she'll be speaking, but she'll also be there to really say hello to lots of people there. She's a great, talented person. So again, before we wind up, any last minute from anyone, and then we can certainly say goodbye to people. And promising, I'm coming again live. I think it's November 17th, just before the breakfast, we come again live. So again, last minute things, just go around the table. Dina?
Yes, I always like to remind people that things are not always as they appear and everyone has a story. So always lead with compassion and kindness, because you honestly don't know what is happening in people's lives. They do have a story, and just be mindful of that.
Linda.
I would like to piggyback on that. And if someone has found the bravery to say something to you that they're in trouble, one of the first questions could be, are you safe? The second statement, I think, or the first even, would be, I believe you. And the third would be to direct them to us, because like I said, if it ends up that this isn't where they need to be right now, they need something more immediate, or they need something, more drastic, we can get them there. So when in doubt, give us a call and we can help figure it out. But yeah, believe them.
Absolutely, very well said. It was such a pleasure having both of you today at on We4U Radio, and where, of course, there is a story behind every smile. And if people want to know what, come to the event. Thank Vandana Srivastava for moderating the show behind the curtains for us. She has got such full stories on the radio. She brings almost twice weekly, so I know how we are part of radio, and I'm blessed to be in Edmonton, to be able to really bring you on live here, and I'll keep doing the same until something really changes. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.